Okay, we'll get started with our presentation. Let me just go into my slideshow here. Good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is for you. My name is Mary Kovach from Erie Bose's Winnierick, and today's topic is Office 365 tools for the research process. So if you are watching the live session, I have a link at the top of the page to Poll Everywhere, where I'll pause at certain points during the presentation if you would like to ask questions. So the address that you would go to in your browser is pollev, so pollev.com/Mary Kovach 058. Okay. And if you're watching the recording after the fact, you would not use this pollev for the discussion, but rather there is a separate discussion in the online course platform, which I will point you to later in this webinar. Okay, so some of the tools we'll talk about. First, we'll talk about what are called add-ins for Microsoft Word. They also have some of these for PowerPoint or Microsoft Excel as well, that you can use either with the online software, which is through your Office 365 account, or if you choose to open your documents through what's called the client software. So when I say client in this webinar, it's going to refer to any of the software that is on your computer. So for example, if I go to my start menu, and then I click on Microsoft Word from here, then that is called my client software. So there's also an option if you're in your Office 365 for one of your documents, let's say. So let me open up one of my documents here. So you can either edit it right online through your Office 365, or you might see an option where it says edit in Word. So when you do this, you're actually going to have some more features that you wouldn't have online. So we are going to look at some of those additional features that you have in the client. But first, looking at the add-on, these are tools that you would have in either place, whether you're in Microsoft Word on your computer, the client, or whether you're editing a document right online. Okay, and this is just kind of a practice document that I've done. I do this a lot with my face-to-face classes for my Office 365 intro, with a famous what's called a pangram, which is a sentence or a phrase that uses every letter of the alphabet, or just about every letter of the alphabet. Okay, so the way add-ins work is they give you some extra functionality within your Microsoft Word. So when you go to add-ons, you're going to go to what's called the store. Now, there are ones that are subscription or that you have to pay for, but there's also quite a few that are free and some great ones that you might want to use if you're doing research. So some that we'll look at, for example, are EasyBib for creating a bibliography online, a dictionary, and I like to use the Collins Dictionary because it's free. And not that it's going to be your end-all be-all of research, but as I'm sure you've realized, whenever you start a new Google or Bing search, some of the first resources that come up are Wikipedia a lot of times if you're searching for information, just because a lot of people go to it, use that, and also it links back to, ideally, a lot of other reputable sources. So again, a good Wikipedia article links out to other reputable sources that will corroborate. So again, just kind of a starting point from right within your Microsoft document. Okay, so from any Word document, whether it's online or in the software, I can click on the Insert tab and then click on Office Add-ins. Okay. So under my add-ins, these are ones that I have used so far. You probably don't have any if you've never used add-ins before. Sometimes an organization can push them on for you. In most cases, they haven't. So in most cases, what you'll want to do is click on this last tab, which says Store. Okay. And so from here, you can either type in a search term and click on the search magnifying glass, or you can go to one of these categories. So you can see that when I search for dictionary, it brought up the Collins dictionary. Okay, so if I wanted to use this, I'm going to click Add. And then what it does is it brings up a window on the right-hand side of my document. And this is convenient because I don't have to go to another tab and then type in the terms that I want to look up. I have the option to, for example, just select a word on my screen, and then it's going to give me a definition. I can see that it's loading here. Some other options it has are a thesaurus and a translator. So you can see here, I have definitions of the word quick. So if I wanted to, I could copy that. I could put that into the document instead. Maybe in this case, I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm just going to undo that from my home tab here. Okay, but let's say I wanted to find a synonym for this word. Okay, I have a thesaurus where I can replace that with synonyms if I want to. So I could click on the little pieces of paper next to Swift, and then I can change that. So again, it's just a little extra piece of functionality that I have. I can translate from English to another language as well. So let's say I'm going to look this up in Greek, let's say. Oh, didn't find any results there. Let's see. So there's a number of languages, maybe not every word for every language that you can look up here. But there's a translator in here as well. Okay, so that's one of the add-ins. Another one that I like to use online, because you don't have another option for this particular feature online, is EasyBib. Okay, so this one, I'm going to click on Education when I go back to my Office add-ins store. Okay, and then you can see that I have a number of different add-ins that I could add. Okay, so you can see some, for example, the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. This is actually $1.50 per month, so I may not want to use that one. So here, I'm going to click EasyBib. I'm going to click Add. Okay. So then what this allows me to do then is add citations. Okay, so now when I click on my References tab here, I am able to click where it says Add Citation. Okay, so now I can either search for a book. So sometimes I can actually just put in an ISBN number of a book, and it will bring that up. So let me grab a book here. Let's see. Good thing I have some books handy here. So I'm going to type in the ISBN number that I have for Catherine Stockett's book, The Help. So if I type in 978-0-425-23220-0, and I search for that. Yep, and then it brings up The Help. Okay. So then I'm going to click Select, and then it's going to add that. Whoop, I guess this is something that I'd saved before through my EasyBib. But now you see that it's adding to a bibliography that I can then put into my research paper at the end. So once I add all of my sources, and it could be a journal article or a website that I put in. So for a website, I would just copy and paste the link in. So let's say I'm going to go to this page here. Let's say I'm going to go to this Superliterates article. I could actually, for this, just copy the web address and then paste this in, search. Okay, and then I can click on select. So depending on the kind of resource, it's going to put it in the correct citation format that you choose. So by default, it's going to be MLA 8. I can also choose MLA 7, APA, or Chicago. Okay. And then once I am done with my bibliography, I can click Insert. And then it's going to put those in. And of course, if I needed to resize that, not quite so big, here, then it puts the works cited into my paper. Okay. So for those who use Google, they have EasyBib for Google as well. Google has also what's called Explore. So you don't have that per se with Office 365 right now, but you do have, if I go back to insert my Office add-ins, you could use a source such as Wikipedia, which then would give you a little window on the side where you could search Wikipedia. So let's say that, oops, let me see. Oh, I did that wrong. Let me see. I have to select the whole name, Catherine Stockett. Okay. And then it's going to give some results for Catherine Stockett from Wikipedia. So it's a little place where you can then maybe start some research, not necessarily your end of your research, but look up some quick information in Wikipedia right from your Word document. Knowing, of course, that a good Wikipedia article has some other external references that you can go back to. Okay, so those are just some of the add-ins that you could use that would be good for research. Okay, so the next tool that we'll look at is Gale databases. So you should have access to these through your school library. And actually, it's available to anyone in the state for free if you go to Novel, New York, which is linked here. I have linked up here a link to the Erie One BOCES Gale databases. But if you're in another district, then you might want to check with your library media specialist. So a lot of times, if you access it from on campus, you don't even need a password. But if you're off campus, sometimes based on your internet address, your IP address, you might have to put in this password, which is just Empire Link, all one word. So what this allows you to do is to, if you sign in with your Microsoft account, you have access to a great database of magazine, newspaper articles, other things as well, sometimes ebooks that you can use for research, and you can save them as Word documents right into your OneDrive. So what you could do first is perhaps highlight, add your own notes, and then on the right, you'll see a button that says Send to OneDrive. And what happens then is it creates folders within your Microsoft OneDrive for each of those particular databases. So I'm going to click on my Gale databases link up here to bring me to my Erie One BOCES Gale databases. So really, I could choose any of these. You can see we have biography and context, Health Reference Center, General Science, General One File. They do have, for younger students as well, a database called Kids InfoBits. They have New York State newspapers archived here, which is nice. You can't always get to those articles through the Buffalo News site, but you can use the New York State newspapers database from here, which is kind of nice as well. And if you have younger students, you can use what's called Kids Infobits. Okay. I'm just going to click on the top one here, biography in context, for example. And you could use really any of the databases that are here. Just when you have your own school access, it might look a little different if your librarian has set it up specifically for students at your grade level. Okay, so now what I want to do is click at the top where it says sign in with Microsoft. Okay, now I have already signed in before on this computer, so I'm just going to pick my account. If not, you would get a window to sign in with your Office 365 account. And now you can see at the top it says signed in as Mary. Okay, so let's say I want to look for information about Abraham Lincoln. I could explore this topic. Okay, so it does give you some quick facts here, but then if I scroll down, I can see some articles from encyclopedias, from magazines about Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so let's say that I click on this article from the Encyclopedia of World Biography. Again, since this is historical, even though it's 1998, it still might be relevant content. You can click here. Okay, another nice feature, no thanks, I'll give feedback later. Another nice feature of the Gale databases is that for students who need those supports, they can actually listen to the article. Or you can select
Abraham Lincoln. Updated :017, 2017. 16th President of the United States and President during the Civil War.
So if I want to, I can choose to have that read slower or faster by clicking on the little gear here. I could also download an MP3 of that, so just an audio file. I could select just certain texts to listen to, and then I can choose my colors that are going to show
Abraham
up as
Lincoln,
it's reading.
1809 to 1865, was immortalized by his Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay, so if I want to then move on from here to annotating my article, I'm just going to click this little close arrow next to my download button on the very far right of my player. Okay, and also at the top here, I can change the text size if I need to make that bigger by clicking on the small a or the big A. Okay, so now from here, let's say that I wanted to highlight some text. So once I click and drag over some text, I can highlight it. I can choose a color. I can add my own notes. And I could say, you know, who was the 15th president? Let's say I wanted to ask myself. Okay. So now I have highlights and notes. But right now they're just saved into this particular session of research. So in the past, my options were I could just download them as a PDF or print out a copy. But now I have the option too to choose send to OneDrive. So then I'm going to have all the functions that I would have, all those add-ins, anything else that I would have in Microsoft Word, I'm going to have for this document. Okay, so I'm going to click on the right where it says send to OneDrive. And it's going to tell me documents have been sent to your Microsoft OneDrive and will appear in your Office 365 cloud shortly. Okay. So once that happens, what's going to happen is if I go back to my Microsoft OneDrive, so again, once I log into Office 365, click on my OneDrive, little cloud icon. And then from here, you'll see that it created a folder on its own called Biography and Context. So I did not have to create that folder. Okay, so when I click here, it's going to have any articles that I have saved before. So here's my Freddie Mercury, which I saved before. And here's my Abraham Lincoln. So now I'm going to have that article. It's going to bring over any of the highlights that I put in. Any of my notes will show up at the very bottom. And also, it's going to give me the citation for that source. So then if I need that citation for my research, I have that right here. So I needed to change my citation format. I would have to actually do that from the article and the citation tools before I exported it. But then I could choose, again, MLA, APA, or Chicago. Okay, so those are the features of the Gale databases. Again, there are quite a few you may want to take a look at, depending on what you teach, that you could have students use for their research. Okay, so just some additional strategies that you can use in Word. So again, I showed you highlighting within an article in Gale databases. But let's say you wanted to do further work in here. You could use the highlighter right within your Microsoft Word tools. Okay. So now I'm going to click at the top where it says Edit Document. I'm going to click Edit in Browser. Oh, and this one actually, sometimes you may have to click Convert because the documents are actually saved in an older version of Word. So all I had to do was click Convert, and now I'm able to edit that article in Microsoft Word Online. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to highlight further. Okay, so if I select, drag my mouse over Nancy Hanks, then I can click from my Home tab on this little yellow highlighter icon. I can choose any of these. The other option that I have, if I select part of that text, a lot of times I'm also going to get kind of this pop-up menu that I can choose, and then I can highlight that in here as well. So some tools that I have from here. So another tool that's really great, has some great features if you wanted to have students do some research, or, for example, do something where they have to annotate an article, close read it, or do some other annotation for an assignment. You can use OneNote Class Notebook. Okay, so I'm going to open up a tool called OneNote. So for those who haven't used this, you, think of OneNote as sort of an online notebook. So again, you have your different sections, sort of your different, sections that have tabs, and then different pages within there. So I'm on my PC side right now, and the application that I want to choose on here is actually OneNote 2016. So again, if you're at home and you download the Microsoft application and install it, you want to make sure that you choose the one that's OneNote 2016. At some point, they'll put out probably OneNote 2019 or 2020. But this OneNote here is just sort of a lighter version. So the one I'm going to open is OneNote 2016. Okay. So you can see here is kind of a test space that I have. Let's say that I click on this social studies notebook here. So the way that this works is you have some different tabs either at the top if you're working on your computer, or if you're using OneNote online, you'll have the tabs on the side. So these will be what are called your different sections of the notebook. And you think about it like a section, because when you think about an actual notebook, you might have those little tabs that stick up. And then within here, on the right-hand side, on my client, on my computer, I can add in a page. If I'm online, what I can do, let me go back to here. I'm going to go back to my OneDrive. Click on my class notebooks folder. Okay, so let's say I'll open up this notebook here. Okay, so you can see it looks just a little bit different if you're online. So you're going to have your sections to the far left, and you can add a new section this way. Okay, and then you're going to have your pages here. Okay. Okay, so I can have a biography page then here. So some options that you have here. If I click on Insert, I have the option to put in what's called a file printout. So what that does is, if you have a file attachment, that would just be kind of a link that you could click on, and then it would open the Word document, or let's say PowerPoint or PDF. A file printout actually would be where you can choose a file to upload, and it's going to display right on that page. So let's say that it was, let me see if I have a Word document that I could put in here. If not, I will download one. Let's say that it was this PDF. I'm going to click Open and then Insert. And so this one is large, so it's still processing. So let's say that instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to download a copy of this Word document. Okay. Okay, so then in here, if I wanted to put the file printout, I'm going to click, remind me later. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to click Insert, and I can choose File Printout. Let me go to a different notebook. Okay, so let me just create a new section here. Create a biography section. I'm going to rename this untitled page just by right-clicking on it. Let's say I'll call that okay. And so now I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to choose File Printout. Okay, and so now I do have to upload it from my computer. So notice that link and document I actually had to download to my computer. Click here and click Insert. Okay. So then what happens is, instead of just a link, it still has the attachment link here, but also it has the whole text of the document right in the OneNote page. So what is really the benefit of this? I could take this article and through what's called Class Notebook, which is a separate add-in that I have linked in the presentation, I can actually distribute this page to all of my students by clicking Distribute Page. And I can, let's say, send that to the homework section of each student. And then they would each get their own copy that then I can go to and I can see their progress. So then I can go and see, for example, how Marley has done so far. This one I think still needs to sync, but this will be an example. So each student has a notebook of their own within your class notebook that then could be highlighted. So then you would have similar highlighting tools. If I click on my home tab, you'll still have that yellow highlighter that you can use for the content within here. Actually, for OneNote, what I might do instead is use the drawing tools and then highlight that way. A lot of times if it's file printout, if I click instead on the draw tab and then I use those highlighter tools, it's usually a little bit better within OneNote. So then a teacher could go back and check the student's progress at any time. So again, the class notebook add-in, just get back to the presentation here. That's something that you would have to install. So again, if you're on a home computer, I have that link in the presentation here that you can download it and install. I also have the install for the district. So if it's something where you're on a district computer and you would like to have this function in OneNote on your computer, then you could send this to your district tech department if they didn't have that available already. So you can also, and I would probably recommend this, you can also create a class notebook right from your Office 365 account. So I'm just going to click on this little waffle, the 9 squares in the upper left corner of my Office 365. And then from here, choose Class Notebook. So this is, if you wanted to get started with using Class Notebook, you can start and create your own. And then this would walk you through the process of adding in your own students and co-teachers so that then you would have that notebook for students and teachers. So once you generate that, you would have what's called a collaboration space where anybody could edit, your content library where teachers can add to it, but students can only view. And then you would also have your individual student sections that will be created in there as well. Okay, so now this is the view from the client or the software that's installed on my computer. Just looks a little bit different. So here I have my sections at the top, my collaboration space, my content library, and then I'm going to have a separate notebook for each of my students where I can push assignments to them, they can create their own notes, and I can always view what students are doing. So I know this is just a 1-hour webinar. You could really do several days of training on all the features that are in OneNote. If you have questions about that, you can certainly contact me through the discussions or my email that's on the presentation. Okay. But again, the add-ins are on here that you can use. There's also what's called Web Clipper for OneNote. So the way this works is if you use the Web Clipper for Microsoft Edge, again, that would be the E, which used to be Internet Explorer. It's the native browser for Microsoft. Or if you're using Google Chrome, there is what's called a Web Clipper extension for that as well. So what that lets you do is actually take a clip from any web page. So I'm just going to go to my extension here from Chrome. And what it's going to do is clip this web page or this article and put it into whichever OneNote I choose. And I can put my own notes in here as well. And I can choose the location. So I can choose which notebook I would like this article to go into. So that could be a great way for students to use OneNote to save their own research, their own articles right into their section within their class notebook. So it works pretty much the same way if I went to Microsoft Edge. Just copy that. Go to Microsoft Edge. I'm going to paste in this article. Okay. And then I have my web clicker. Let's see. I can put, I can actually highlight, and I can share this out to OneNote as well. So you have a little extra functionality if you're working in Edge with that, because I could click on any of these highlighter tools and then send it to my OneNote. And again, up here I can choose my notebook. I generally use Google Chrome simply because I love Mac. Normally I'm on the Mac side, and it's Google Chrome is the same whether I'm on a PC or Mac or a Chromebook. Okay. So now I'm just going to pause for a second here to see if you have any questions. I'm just refresh this here. Oh, let me go back to my whole area here. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, you can type them in at this link here, which is polev.com/MaryKovac058. Zoom that in. Oh, I guess that's not really making that any bigger. The address for that will be polev.com/MaryKovac, my name 058. Okay, and then in here, I will have the same poll at the very end of the presentation for those who may be watching live. And if you haven't put your questions in yet, I will see them there for those, again, just watching the live session. Okay, so some additional OneNote tools. So in addition to what we've looked at so far with the built-in tools and the add-in, which is OneNote Plus Notebook, there's also an add-in called Learning Tools. Okay, so this allows you to do some other functions that will help students, especially those who might be struggling readers, who might have some special needs, because it allows you to do things like have the text read to you through what's called Immersive Reader. You can view the text larger on the screen, kind of get rid of some of those distractions by changing background color, text color, things like that. It will also identify parts of speech and break it down into syllables if students need that through what are called the comprehension tools. And it will identify parts of speech and syllables for up to 11 languages. Okay, there's also a feature called Dictate, which is sort of the opposite. That's if students have a hard time typing or spelling out words, just kind of for their initial thoughts, kind of their rough draft, they have the option, if they have a microphone, to actually speak into the computer, and it's going to dictate that for them and put it into typed text. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my OneNote here, and you can see that here I have my learning tools. So I have my Immersive Reader. So then what happens is it brings it into a separate screen where now it is bigger on the screen. If there were other elements, it kind of hides those. So there are students who are distracted by other elements on a page, This now lets them focus just on the reading. I can make that text bigger or smaller by clicking on the A's here. And again, this is where if I wanted a dark screen with light text for students who may be able to read better this way, I could do that. Or choose kind of a different colored background depending on their needs. Okay. And then if I click on this little bookshelf next to the A's, I can choose the comprehension tool. So I can have it highlight the verbs, have it highlight instead the adjectives or nouns, and I can have it break that down into syllables. And this is also where if I click on this little person icon and I can change my speed, I can actually have it read to me. Okay, so I'm just going to choose that. Okay. So if I go to the bottom here.
16th President of the United States and President during the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, 1809 to 1865, was immortalized by his Emancipation Proclamation.
So, I mean, it's computer read, but still for students who need maybe some help with sounding out some of the words, those tools can be very useful. Okay. And dictate, again, is where if instead of typing, what I want to do is use my microphone. Okay, and now it's listening to what I'm saying, and it's putting that into text. And I'm just going to click back here on the red dot to stop it, period. Okay, so it does recognize certain things, like if you say the word period, it will put a period in. So that's just something you have to keep in mind is if you want to put in punctuation, you actually have to say what that punctuation is. Okay, so again, those tools, I have the link here. This is only for the software or the client version of OneNote. So again, the OneNote that's OneNote 2016 that's on your computer. It would be for this application. And the download link is in that presentation. Another kind of nice tool you have is what's called linked notes. So unfortunately, this is only for Windows. I'm a Mac user myself. I feel your pain if you mainly use Mac. Hopefully these are tools that will be available widespread for Mac as well. So in here, what I mean by linked notes is if you copy text from a web page and paste it into your OneNote 2016 for PC, for Windows, it will bring that source in with it. Okay. So let's say that I take in some of this text here. Okay. And I'm going to right click and choose copy. I go back to my OneNote here. Just kind of paste it to the bottom here. I could always start a new page as well. Okay. So now, if I right click and I paste my text in, you can see that it didn't do a full citation, but it brought over that website, the link to it, so that students could cite that later. So this is great to keep students honest, to make sure that they have an easy way to save their sources so they can go back and create a bibliography later on. Okay, so just a few other tools that I have here. Just go back to my slideshow. Okay, so in Microsoft Word, you have some research tools. Now, you may have noticed before when I was in the online software, there is a research tab. So you have some of these features within the online version of Word, but these will be mainly in the client software. So, for example, you have the References tab where you can start to put in your sources. You can also create a table of contents, and this is going to be based on styles within your Word document. Okay, so some of those features I'm going to show just from the Microsoft Word client on my computer. So I'm going to find, let's see, that Lincoln article on my computer that I downloaded. And I'm just going to open that up within Microsoft Word on my computer and click Enable Editing in my client. Okay. So you can see in here, when I go to References, I have Insert Citation. So this is great if you wanted students to do parenthetical citations. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to put in a parenthetical citation for Catherine Stockett's The Help. Okay, so I'm going to click Insert Citation from my References tab and click Add New Source. Okay, so from here, the author is Catherine Stockett, and I can say The Help, and then I can put in my published year here. Bring that up here, find my copyright info. Okay, so I'll put in 2009. New York, New York. And then I can put in my publisher here, which is Berkeley. Okay, and it's gonna give you a tag. So this is saying, actually I wanna put in Stockett Catherine, I think here. Okay. Okay, now it says bibliography fields for APA. I can choose that as well from here if I wanted MLA or Chicago. And I'm going to click OK. So notice that it did then put in my parenthetical citation. Interesting how it brought up Marie Curie for Catherine Stockett. That's kind of interesting. Interesting. Okay. So again, we do have the researcher from here. So this is a feature that you have within Word on your computer. You have this researcher. Why it brought up Marie Curie, I'm not sure, but based on this content. But still, if I wanted to look up a certain term, I could select Abraham Lincoln and then click on my researcher from here, and I could search for Lincoln from here. And then click Abraham Lincoln. So you do have, as long as you have the most updated version of Word installed on your computer, you do have that researcher. But I like the citation tool here because, again, you can put in your parenthetical citations. You can choose your format. And it's going to continue to accumulate your sources as you add more. And then when you're done, you can choose to put in a bibliography at the very end. So again, I'm just going to click where I want that bibliography to go. Let's say this was a student's research paper. Click bibliography. And then if I had more than one source, it would continue with all of those sources here. And then once I had more, then I could just update my bibliography. And you have several different formats that you could choose from. Okay. So the other feature that you have is table of contents. So again, if I am in my References tab, you'll see that I have a table of contents. So the way that those are created, and I'm just going to choose one of these. Notice how it did create some for me. and it says what page they're on. This is all based on the styles that are in your document. So for example, any of these headings that are here, let me click back on my home tab. If I click on just the word the here, this is just normal text. So let's say highlight the word the or select it. That's just normal text. This is actually Civil War. If I click on this text here, it's going to tell me under my styles here on the home tab, it's going to tell me that this is a heading. So I can change that from a heading 1, 2, or 3. And that's then how you can create those different levels within your document. So let's say I wanted Civil War to be a heading 4. And now if you are working in the client of Word, you do have to click the Save button if you're working in the software on your computer. Okay. And then I can click on my table and I can click where it says Update Table. I update the entire table. Okay. And then it's going to, based on the styles that I put in, it's going to automatically generate those tables of contents that are in here. So again, in this case, it's doing just the headings 1 and 2. And again, if I change the kind of style that I use from my home tab, choose a different style, and then I'm going to click Update Table. Click OK, and now you see that it did bring Civil War back into my table. But now since I changed it to a higher heading, so heading 2 obviously being higher than heading 3, it's going to move that out, indent backwards in my table of contents. Okay, so those are some of the tools that are just within Microsoft Word in the client. There are some others as well that you have that are also online. So again, within the Insert tab, you can insert some online pictures which are Creative Commons licensed. And you can also insert comments. So when I say insert comments, it's text that's not necessarily part of the document, but it could be something that if students share their document with you. So again, if students click on share near the upper right, and they type in your email address and they send it to you, it's going to allow you then to give students feedback based on comments. So let's say that this was a student's work. They shared it with me, and now I want to comment on the student's work. I can click Insert and then put my cursor wherever I want that comment to go on whichever line, or I could select certain text and then click on Insert Comment. So it can be a side conversation. It can be a to-do list. I think it's a great feature if you want to comment on student work, if you want to give them suggestions. So I can say, not that I'm doing a great use of proper capitalization. And then I'm going to click on this little airplane here, and then it posts that. And then students could reply. They could also use this, students could use it to ask questions that then you could answer as sort of a side conversation to the document, okay? And you have the option, if you wanted to delete this thread, if you no longer wanted it to show, or if it was a to-do list. Let's say you said to students, make sure you use proper punctuation, and then once they correct it, they could mark it as resolved and click on Resolve Thread. Otherwise, students could reply back to you. So let's say the comment pane was not opened. Students go to the document. How do they know there are comments? If they look on just kind of this right side of the document, wherever they see this little comment bubble, they can click, and then it's going to bring up that comment pane. Okay, so the other option that I mentioned is if I click on Insert, I don't have to have a picture downloaded. There isn't clip art anymore. But what I can do is click Insert and choose Online Pictures. And then I can search from here. And search for Abraham Lincoln. And it's going to filter for images that are Creative Commons only. So a lot of times you might get a picture that's from Wikipedia. So I'm going to click on these 3 dots. When I mouse over it, you'll see 3 dots in the lower right-hand corner. It's going to tell you where that picture came from. Okay, so you still might want to go back to the original source. I would say if you are going to use this picture, you might want to have students copy the address before they insert that picture. So I'm going to click here, select it, and then click Insert. Okay. And then again, I could still then paste in where that picture came from. If students require a full citation for the pictures, then they could fully cite that as well. So again, the nice thing about that is when you go to the online pictures and search, it automatically filters for Creative Commons unless you uncheck this button here. So those are some additional research tools that you have. Okay, so I know that's quite a bit of research tools. And also what you can do is you can create Microsoft Forms for research. So in a previous webinar, what I've looked at is the ability to create a quiz. Students, as long as they have an Office 365 account, are able to create their own sort of survey. So let's say that they're doing an argumentative piece and they want to create a poll of the student body, of parents, something to support their research. So that is also within your Office 365. So this is something where you do have to have an Office 365 school-based account or business-based account. Students then could create their own forms from here. And again, if teachers are using this for a quiz, they'd probably want to use the quiz feature. But in here, they'd want to click on New Form. So the example that I've used before is school lunch survey. So let's say students are arguing that school lunches need to be improved. And they could create some questions that are either multiple select with multiple answer, or just multiple choice where they choose one or the other. So for example, they can add a question that's multiple choice where you can see that I don't have this multiple answer part turned on. So when I click add a question, there can be choices, text, or ratings. If it is multiple select, for example, typing in which school lunches have you tried, I can continue to add options. And in this case, if they've tried more than one, I can just click this slider and it becomes a multiple answer or multiple select. And you can see in here as well, this is how it would look for the STARS rating. So when students create the rating question, they're going to choose their number of levels and the symbol. So do they want to use numbers or stars? And then when somebody takes that particular survey, they just fill in the number of stars. And of course, there's open-ended, where then that would just be regular text question, where then someone could type in their own free response. Okay. So the options that you have to share a survey, if I click on the share button in the upper right, it says here for mine, anyone with the link can respond. It might be a default in your district, though, to go only to people in your organization. So if it is a survey they're sharing outside of the district, they might want to make sure under share, they choose anyone with the link can respond. So then you can either copy this link, they can share that through a shortened URL, let's say, or post it to a website, or if they have a blog. Another option is if I click next to that link option, it gives me a QR code. So the QR code, they could download, and then they could put it into a document to print, maybe put posters up for users to scan with a mobile device scanner to take a particular survey. The other share options you have, you can share it as a template. So let's say that you create this and you want to make it a template for students. You can share this link with them. You can copy it, let's say, paste it into your class notebook. And that forces students to make their own copy of this survey that they can modify. This is also useful if you are creating some activities for students that you want to share with colleagues. You can give them this link so they can make their own copy but not change yours. If students want to collaborate, if they're working, let's say, in groups on a project, they can share a collaborate link. So that is where then they share it with another student or a teacher, and everyone is working on the same survey at once. So if I wanted to see how that looked, I can click on preview. Okay. And I can see how that looks on computer or mobile, where then the user would submit their answers. Okay, and if I click the back arrow, once there are responses, they can see them in this second tab here next to the questions. They can click on the responses tab, and then you can see they have some results that then they could cite within their paper. So again, they could copy the image if they wanted to bring that out and put that image as a figure in their paper. So just kind of giving them another tool they can use for research. So in this case, obtaining survey information from someone else as a form of authentic research. So that really is sort of the short version of forms. Again, I have other webinars that are just on maybe one of these tools more in depth. So again, if you have questions that you don't have a chance to ask here, please feel free to put those into the discussion area, which I'll show you in a second. And I will try to answer your questions as best I can. And then also, you can email me at mkovach@e1b.org at any time as well. So in order to receive credit for this webinar, I'll just sign back in here. What you will need to do is take a quiz. So there is, let me just click on here. There is a secret code in order to access the quiz. And that code is CLOW O365. So I'm just going to click on here to show that a little bit bigger on the screen. Let me just zoom in a little here. Okay. So the password would be cloud O365. So once you have that password, you will be able to take the quiz. And once you get a score of 80 or higher on that, then your certificate will show up in the news area of the course. So it will look something like this. And then if you want to, you can view that and then print it out as well. So then from here, I could just go to my browser, or I could right click, and then I could choose to print out this page for my certificate, or save that as a PDF if I needed to. So again, this will show up after you complete the quiz and get a score of 80 or higher, and you can take it as many times as you need. Okay, so then also once you attempt the quiz once you submit at least one attempt, you'll have a link to the presentation. So this has all of the resources, all of the links that you may need from our presentation today. So anything that was in the presentation, you're going to have in that link as well. And also, if you are watching the recording, this is where you would ask your questions as opposed to poll everywhere. You would click on the discussion, and then from here, you would click on start a new thread to ask your questions. And then I'll see a notification. And again, try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So please, if you have questions at any point, feel free to email me at mkovach@e1b.org or post to the discussion area within our online course. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.